They were eating cereal. That's all it was. A lazy, disjointed Saturday morning, with the blinds drawn and the kitchen light too harsh for the hour. Cody had his feet up on the counter like he owned the place. Sneakers, crusted with dried mud, leaving smears on the granite I had installed myself. Ashley scrolled her phone, elbows on the table, the same glazed look she always wore when I entered the room. Detached, disinterested. I had asked a simple question. Something about the dishes in the sink. There was no anger in my voice, just fatigue, the kind that wraps itself around your bones after years of unacknowledged service. Cody didn't even lift his eyes, just muttered, "We'll get to it." Then, as if he'd been waiting to say it, like it had been rehearsed, sharpened in silence, he looked up and said it outright, "You're not in charge of us. You never were." The air didn't change. Nothing cracked or fell. It was too casual, too cold. He said it like a fact, like weather. Ashley barely reacted, just nodded, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and stood up with her bowl in one hand. "Yeah," she said, like she was confirming a grocery list. "You're not our dad." She didn't look at me. She never did. I stood there with the same mug I'd used for 5 years. Navy blue, chipped at the handle, a Father's Day gift from Leslie. Back when we still pretended we were a unit. Back when the kids still accepted small gestures with forced smiles. The silence wasn't heavy. It was light, hollow, weightless, like something vital had been lifted off a dying animal. And that's when I knew. I didn't say a word, didn't raise my voice. There was no lecture, no "after all I've done." Just a quiet moment, and then I walked away. Down the hall, past the frames on the wall, none of which had my face in them anymore, and into the office I never let anyone touch. I sat down, logged in, and started dismantling everything I had built. First, the monthly therapy draft gone. That was $160 a week, every week, for sessions they barely acknowledged. Cancelled. Then Ashley's acting classes. She'd begged for them 2 years ago. I found the studio, set up the payments, drove her back and forth in traffic after 12-hour shifts. She never said thank you. She never said much at all. Gone. Cody's college prep platform. A premium membership he used less and less but insisted he needed. That too was mine. Now it wasn't. Passwords reset. Account cancelled. I even took the time to remove the recovery email so he couldn't sneak back in. Then came the email. Short. Clinical. Every cancelled item listed line by line. Dates. Amounts. Providers. Clean formatting. No emotion. Subject line. Financial independence. I sent it to Leslie. No explanations. No pleading. Just numbers. Just facts. She never replied. I didn't expect her to. I sat there a long time after sending that message, watching the cursor blink, listening to the quiet hum of a household I had funded, maintained, held up with tired arms. I thought about every grocery run I did alone while Leslie worked late or scrolled her phone in the car, every gas tank I filled, every utility bill I paid before the shutoff notice came. I thought about the times I stayed up late researching scholarships for Cody, not because he asked me to, but because I wanted him to win at life. All of it unspoken, all of it unpaid. And now it was over. Not with a fight, not with a scream, but with a cereal bowl and a sentence that turned me from a father into a ghost. I opened the family Netflix account and changed the password. Then the Wi-Fi. A small gesture, maybe, but symbolic. The quiet grip I held over this house wasn't through orders or demands. It was in the background, in paid invoices, scheduled appointments, weekly grocery lists. Power they never noticed until it stopped flowing. By noon, I had a stack of documents printed, paper-clipped, and arranged on my desk. All the proof, all the evidence of where my money went. I didn't want to argue later. I wanted her to see it all cold, documented, undeniable. In the living room, they laughed at something on their phones. No idea what had shifted. No sense of the ground trembling beneath them. Let them enjoy it. I thought about when I first moved in. How I tried to earn my place quietly. Cody was 12 then. Angry, distant, still worshipping the ghost of a father who missed birthdays and blamed traffic. Ashley was 9, shy and withdrawn, hiding behind Leslie's skirts, whispering instead of speaking. I never asked to replace their father. I never once said, "Call me Dad." I showed up. I brought structure. I worked overtime so Leslie didn't have to juggle bills. I bought groceries. I fixed sinks. I painted bedrooms in colors they chose and pretended to like their music in the car. I waited. I thought time would do the rest. Didn't. They never came to me with scraped knees. Never leaned on me when school got hard. Leslie said, "Give them space. They need time." I gave it. Years of it. Still, I remained on the outside of a door I paid to keep closed. Every time their father reappeared, once a season, maybe less, they lit up. His gifts were expensive, last minute, often wrong. But he was Dad. That word they guarded like a treasure. And me? I was Tom. Or hey. Or silence. And now it had escalated. They hadn't just ignored me. They had erased me. Declared me null. "You're not in charge of us. You never were." That was the moment. The moment when I realized what I'd been doing wasn't parenting. It was subsidizing contempt. And the bill was due. Leslie came home around 8. Night shift at the hospital. Tired. Purse on her shoulder. Keys jingling. Perfume faded. The house smelled like takeout. I had cooked nothing. I had said nothing. She came into the office, looked down at the stack of papers on the desk. The printed email on top. Her name in bold at the top. Her eyes scanned it. I watched her lips move. Then she looked at me. "Are you serious?" I nodded. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. The numbers spoke for themselves. She stood there, the weight of 12 years in her silence. She didn't defend them. She didn't apologize. She just walked out of the room. And I knew then, too. She'd made her choice a long time ago. She just never said it out loud. Leslie didn't speak to me that night. She poured herself a glass of wine, sat in the living room, and stared at the muted television. Cody played video games upstairs. Ashley blasted music behind a closed door. The house buzzed with the usual noise, but none of it touched me anymore. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her shift beside me. At one point, her fingers brushed my arm, hesitated, then fell away. We used to hold each other in the dark. Not anymore. Now we shared silence like strangers in a waiting room. The next morning, I cooked breakfast for myself. Just myself. Eggs, black coffee, toast. No extras. No notes on the fridge. No, "Don't forget Ashley's ride," or "Can you Venmo Cody for lunch?" I ate in silence while they slept. Then I took the car and drove to the hardware store. Not to buy anything urgent. I just walked the aisles, letting the quiet wrap around me. Every aisle was cleaner than my house, more organized. When I returned, the first tremor hit. Leslie stood by the counter, phone in hand, eyes narrowed. She was scrolling through emails. I could see it in her face, confusion hardening into something else. "They canceled the therapy sessions?" she asked, not looking up. I nodded. "Yes." "Without talking to me?" "I sent you everything. Saturday." She opened her mouth, shut it, and finally said, "Cody's SAT account won't log in. He's locked out." I sipped my coffee. "Yes. And Ashley says her acting coach called, payment declined. They want to know if she's switching studios." I set the mug down. That would be up to her. And her parents. Leslie stared at me. "You're punishing them." "No. I'm exiting." Her face twisted. Not in rage, not yet. But in something worse. Recognition. Like she saw, for the first time, the man she'd been married to for 12 years. The man she never really understood. She wanted to say more. But Cody came down the stairs, phone in hand, hoodie half-zipped, hair a mess. He looked directly at her. "Why isn't the chat platform working? I had a session this morning." Leslie hesitated. She turned to me. I answered for her. "It's been canceled. Non-payment." He blinked. "What?" "I canceled it." His face darkened. "You can't just do that. Yes, I said calmly. I can. You didn't even tell me. I didn't have to. He looked at his mother again. She looked at the floor. Ashley came into the room then. Headphones around her neck, eyes already brimming. My classes, she whispered. You stopped my classes? I didn't speak. Ashley looked at her mother. Why? Leslie finally answered. Tom made a decision. Cody laughed. Yeah. Well, since when does he get to decide anything? There it was again. That same bite. That same casual contempt. I stood, slowly, walked over to the desk drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside were the hard copies, printouts of the email, bank statements, service cancellations. I handed it to Leslie. This is the financial breakdown. All the services I've covered, listed month by month with totals. Cody snatched the top sheet and scanned it. His lips moved silently. I watched the numbers land like punches. You were paying for this? All of it? For years. No one asked you to, he snapped. I met his eyes. You're right. No one did. Ashley whispered. You didn't have to. I know. They stared at me as if I were a stranger. And in that moment I became one. That night I changed the password on the Netflix account. The Disney Plus login. The Spotify family plan. Small things but deliberate. Quiet closures. I unsubscribed from the monthly snack box Ashley loved. The one I'd kept going even when money was tight. I canceled the sports streaming service Cody used to watch matches. The next day, the silence grew louder. Cody came to the office. Knocked. Didn't wait to be invited. I need the SAT platform back up. I turned in my chair. Why? Because I've got deadlines. So, I said, I thought I wasn't in charge of you. He looked stunned. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, voice low. You made it clear I'm not your father, that I never was. And you were right. So from now on, you handle your things. I'll handle mine. He scoffed. You're being a child. No, I said. I'm being honest. He shifted on his feet. So that's it? You're just pulling out of everything? Yes. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just stood there, held in place by the weight of his own arrogance. Then, quietly, like he couldn't believe the words were leaving his mouth, can you at least get the SAT thing back up? Just that. Please. It was the first time he'd used my name in months. Not hey. Not can I borrow the car? He said Tom. Crack something. Not enough to heal anything. Just enough to hurt again. I didn't answer. I just looked at him, then turned back to my screen. Behind him, I saw movement. Ashley standing halfway down the hall, watching, saying nothing. That night, when I walked past her room, I saw something strange. On her shelf, in a cheap silver frame, was a photo of the four of us. Me, Leslie, Cody, Ashley. At the lake 3 summers ago. I remember that day not because it was perfect, but because it wasn't. Cody had sulked all morning. Ashley refused to smile. Leslie spent most of the trip checking her phone. And me? I grilled burgers no one thanked me for. I took that photo on a timer. I was the only one who smiled. And yet, here it was, framed, on her shelf. Leslie came into the office later that week. Quiet. No whine. No posture. I saw the picture in Ashley's room. I didn't reply. She never puts anything up. Still, I said nothing. Leslie sat on the edge of the desk, looking tired in a way that went beyond sleep. They're confused. They're old enough not to be. She nodded slowly. You hurt them. No, I said. I stopped bleeding for them. Silence stretched. The kind that changes the air in a room. You're not leaving, are you? She asked. No, I said. I'm not leaving. I'm just done pretending I'm part of something that doesn't want me. She looked like she wanted to say something. Apologize, maybe. Explain. But she didn't. And that silence said more than any word could. Over the next few days, the energy in the house shifted. Not toward reconciliation. Not toward warmth. Just awareness. They moved differently. Asked fewer things. Cody didn't eat dinner with us. Ashley stopped asking to be driven anywhere. Leslie tiptoed around decisions like every one of them might cost her something she couldn't name. I took back my time. Read in the evenings. Cooked for myself. Made coffee and drank it hot for once. And every night, before I went to bed, I walked past that photo on Ashley's shelf. Never touched it. Never mentioned it. But I saw it. Because even a small shift can be tectonic. Even a photo can be a whisper. The first real consequence didn't arrive with shouting. It arrived in the form of an email. Cody knocked on the office door, for once without arrogance. It was barely ajar when he spoke. I lost access. I didn't turn. To what? The college counselor. The portal. They shut my account down. I nodded. He waited. They said it's a payment issue, he continued, voice flatter now. They said they emailed you. I told them you must have changed cards or something. I didn't change anything, I said. I stopped. Cody stepped into the room fully. That was new. For the first time in years, he didn't hover like he didn't belong. Now he looked like the outsider. Can you just fix that part? He asked. Just that. I'll deal with the rest. Just the SAT prep. That's all I'm asking. I turned then, looked him straight in the eye. You're asking the man who has no authority, no role, no rights. Cody looked down. I thought you didn't want me involved. I added. That I never was. He was silent, but I saw it, that crack in his mask. Regret isn't always loud. Sometimes it walks in with slumped shoulders and avoids your eyes. I didn't mean it like that. You did, I said. He started to speak again, but stopped, then left. He didn't slam the door. 2 days later, I noticed something odd. Ashley's side of the fridge, the little corner where she usually kept her theater flyers, song lyrics, glitter pen notes from friends, was blank. She'd cleared it, cleaned it. The magnets were stacked neatly on the counter like she didn't want to toss them, but couldn't bear to keep using them either. Then I saw it. One of the magnets on her bedroom door, holding a new printout, a rehearsal schedule. I hadn't seen one of those in weeks. Below it, on the floor, was a folded brochure. I picked it up. Same acting studio. Same classes I had canceled. A handwritten note was stuck to the back. Applied for scholarship. Fingers crossed. I stared at it a long time. Not out of pity. Not out of pride. But because it was the first time Ashley had ever tried to keep something alive without me holding it up. That night, she left a plate in the sink after dinner. Nothing new. But an hour later, I heard the water running. I peeked from the hallway. She was cleaning it. Quietly. Carefully. No audience. She didn't look up. I didn't say a word. But something shifted again. Leslie started getting texts from the school. I knew because her phone buzzed every 10 minutes for 2 hours one evening. And every time she read them, she sighed like the air had been punched out of her. The PDA funds are late, she said finally. They said our pledge didn't come through. That's because it didn't. You always pay that. Not anymore. She leaned in the doorway of the office, arms crossed. You're cutting everything, then? I'm cutting myself out of things I was never part of. You were part of it. I looked at her. Was I? She didn't answer. I gestured to the chair. Sit. She hesitated, then did. I opened the ledger I had started compiling, a quiet exercise in tracking what I had built, what I had held. Every payment, every camp, tutor, subscription, and gift. Itemized. Not for revenge. Just truth. Leslie read in silence. Every so often she shook her head. Not in disbelief, in shame. How long have you been doing this? She whispered. Since the beginning. You never told me it was this much. You never asked. The room went still. Leslie closed the binder. She looked up at me with eyes I hadn't seen since the early years. The eyes of a woman still pretending we were equals. Why didn't you leave instead? She asked. I didn't blink. Because I wanted to see who they became when I stopped carrying them. A week passed. Then 2. Cody applied to a job. Part-time retail. I know because I saw the confirmation email open on the kitchen laptop. He used my resume template, the one I made him years ago, back when I thought we'd bond over college visits. He still hadn't fixed the SAT platform, still hadn't asked again. But he started coming home earlier, started staying in more. I'd hear him typing late into the night. And once, I saw him delete an email draft titled Dad before closing the screen. Not Tom, not hey, just Dad. He didn't send it, but he typed it. Ashley did something else. She dug out an old scrapbook, one I made in the early years when I was still trying. It had stickers, ticket stubs, Polaroids, even a page of notes they'd once written for my birthday. She used to mock it, hide it when friends came over. Now it was on her desk. Open. She never said a word, but she left it open. One morning, she asked if I could help her with a monologue. Said she needed a second pair of ears. I said I was busy. It wasn't cruelty. It was honesty. She nodded, quiet, then said, "Okay. If you change your mind, I'll be practicing around 7. It was the first time in 2 years she had asked me for anything without sarcasm, without Leslie speaking for her, without strings. At 7, I stood in the hall outside her door. I listened. I didn't go in, but I listened. Leslie came to me again. She had a letter in her hand. Official. From the college board. She didn't hand it to me, just clutched it like it might disappear. They're saying we missed deadlines. For everything. I nodded. They might not take him next semester. That's possible. She sat on the edge of the desk again, just like before. This time she looked smaller. Not physically, but something in her had shrunk. You said this wasn't revenge. It's not. Then what is it? It's the return of responsibility. To who? To everyone but me. She stared at her hands. Do you hate them? No. Me? No. Then why does it feel like you're punishing all of us? I closed my laptop. Because for the first time you're seeing what I was really doing, and what happens when I stop. Her eyes welled up, but she didn't cry. Leslie wasn't a woman who cried in front of people. Not even me. They need you, she said finally. No, I said. They needed what I gave. And now they have to earn what they never valued. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Left without another word. The next Sunday the kitchen was clean. Not spotless, just tended to. There was a grocery list on the counter. Leslie's handwriting. And under it Cody's. Then Ashley's. I didn't add to it. Didn't touch it. But I noticed my brand of coffee was included. That evening the table was set. 3 plates. Not 4. They didn't say it, but the message was clear. They weren't ready. Not yet. Not to include me again. Not fully. But they wanted me to notice. I ate alone like always, but I took my time, and I left the door open. Later that night Ashley knocked. Can I ask something? I nodded. Do you think I'm ungrateful? I didn't answer. She sat on the floor, legs crossed, arms wrapped around her knees. Just sat. Quiet. After a while, she whispered, I saw what you paid. For everything. I didn't know. I know. I didn't mean to act like. You did. But now you don't. She looked at me. What happens now? I don't know. She nodded again. Okay. And then she left. The power in a house isn't in volume. It's in gravity. And for a long time, I had been the quiet center pulling everything into orbit, unnoticed, unnamed, but essential. Now that center had shifted, and the house was wobbling. They thought I wasn't in charge. They thought my presence was background noise. Now they were learning the truth. I wasn't the roof. I was the foundation, and I had stepped back. I didn't leave. I didn't pack bags. Didn't slam a door. Didn't post cryptic updates online. There was no shouting match in the driveway. No car peeling off into the night. I stayed exactly where I was. I just stopped being what they never acknowledged. They said I wasn't in charge. They said I was never their dad. So I honored that truth. Fully. Finally. No more half measures. No more quiet sacrifices disguised as obligations. No more labor offered up in the hope that love might follow. Because love without respect isn't love. It's leverage. And I had been leveraged for over a decade. So I pulled out, not out of spite, but out of necessity. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. I didn't speak unless spoken to. I didn't offer, didn't ask. I didn't interfere in their chaos or comment when it spiraled. I watched, listened, documented. And the collapse came fast. The school contacted Leslie twice. Once about Ashley's Miss Studio invoices. Then again when Cody's test dates lapsed without registration. Her replies were polite, uncertain. She kept using the word we, until the counselor reminded her it was your responsibility now, ma'am. That night, I heard her cry in the bathroom. Not loud, not messy, just a low, steady unraveling. A quiet dismantling of the story she'd told herself, that I'd always be there, that she could keep standing on my shoulders without ever looking down. She emerged with red eyes. I was in the hallway. She saw me, didn't speak, just walked past. Cody stopped going out. His text slowed. His grades dropped. I know because he finally gave me his login, the same platform he once bragged he didn't need help navigating. A quiet gesture. A buried apology. I didn't respond, but I watched. Ashley's voice lost its edge. She still played music, still shut her door, but not all the way. Sometimes she left it cracked. Just enough for me to hear lines of monologue. Songs practiced under breath. Moments of vulnerability returned to the air. I never stepped in, but I let the door stay open. Then came the letters. Not from school. Not from banks. From them. Ashley's was first. Folded into quarters. Left on my pillow. Lined notebook paper. Purple ink. 3 paragraphs. No greeting, no sign-off. Just a thought. I didn't know what you did. I never thought about it. I guess I thought money just existed. I'm sorry. I don't know if that helps. Probably doesn't. But I see it now. And I'm trying. It was the most honest thing she'd ever given me. I read it twice. Then slid it into the drawer beside my bed. Didn't reply. Didn't mention it. That was enough. Cody's came later. Email. Plain. Sparse. Subject. Stuff. Body. I shouldn't have said what I said. You didn't deserve that. I don't know how to fix it, but I know I broke something. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. Leslie tried next. She didn't write. She cooked. Dinner. From scratch. I came home late and smelled it from the door. Chicken. Garlic. Roasted potatoes. A table set for 4. But only 3 plates had silverware. Mine was bare. She looked up when I entered the kitchen. Didn't say a word. Just waited. And I understood. This was her way of saying, I see what's broken. Not asking me to rejoin, just acknowledging the fracture. The imbalance. I didn't sit. I poured a glass of water. Took it to the office. Closed the door. Let them eat. Weeks passed. The season changed. Cody got into a state school. Nothing fancy. No counselors helped this time. No consultants. He filled out the forms himself. Drove to the testing center. Paid for the applications with a part-time job at a copy center. He told Leslie. Not me. But she told me. Quietly. As if asking for approval. Ashley performed in a winter recital. A smaller studio. Local. She rode the bus alone. Borrowed costumes. Performed in borrowed lights. She invited Leslie. Not me. But Leslie left the flyer on the kitchen table. In my seat. I didn't attend. But I read the flyer. And when Ashley came home, I heard her voice in the hall. He didn't come. And Leslie's answer, after a long pause, would you have? Sometimes at night I sit in the office and stare at the ledger. Not to tally new numbers. Not to plan, but to remind myself, to remember the years I gave freely, to remind myself what unacknowledged labor does to a man's soul. It rots it, quietly, slowly, with polite smiles and half-hearted thank yous, with we appreciate you texts sent too late, with children trained to believe presence is owed but never paid for. I look at the ledger and I ask myself, was it worth it? The answer never comes easy. But here's what I know. The day I stepped back, they all stepped into the weight I used to carry. And some of them buckled. Some adjusted, and some just barely began to understand what they'd taken for granted. I never wanted gratitude. Not really. I just wanted acknowledgement. A name spoken with respect. A seat at the table I built. A photo kept on the wall instead of quietly replaced with a biological fantasy. But I know better now. Families aren't built on DNA, or holidays, or photo albums. They're built on recognition. And without that, love is a leash. And I've been leashed long enough. I don't know what happens next. I still live in this house. Still work. Still cook. Still pay my share. But I am no longer a stepfather. I'm a man with boundaries. They come to me differently now. More carefully. They knock before entering rooms. They ask before assuming. They offer things they never offered before. Help with groceries, small gifts, awkward conversations. But I don't let those gestures erase the past. They are not redemption. They are consequences. I've seen too many men burn out pretending their sacrifice doesn't need to be seen. Too many fathers and stepfathers clinging to hope like it's currency. I was one of them, but not anymore. Now, when I give, if I give, it will be seen. And if it's not, then I won't. Simple. Not bitter. Just clear. Ashley still keeps the photo on her shelf. That lake trip. Me smiling. Them not. Sometimes I catch her looking at it like it's a riddle. Like she's trying to decode something hidden in my face. She once caught me glancing at it too. I didn't say anything. But neither did she. And in that shared silence, I heard the question in her eyes. Did you stop loving us? And here's the answer I've never spoken aloud. No. I stopped losing myself for you. There's a difference. People talk about the father figure, like it's a role you earn by standing in the background long enough. By giving and not asking. Providing and not expecting. Bleeding and never showing the wound. But here's what I've learned. Fathers are not shadows. We are structure. And when structure is mocked, ignored, dismissed, the whole house begins to sag. So I didn't collapse the home. I simply stepped out of it. And they learned it had no floor. And now, to you, whoever you are reading this, was I wrong? Was it cruel to pull away after years of silence and mockery? Was it heartless to stop funding the futures of those who disowned me? Was it pride? Or was it survival? You tell me. If someone looked you in the eye and said, you were never in charge here. After you fed them, protected them, sacrificed for them, would you keep paying? Or would you too one day say, enough?